Welcome to Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk with Dr. Jenna Blasi. I'm Dr. Jenna. I spent years crafting ways to help women thrive, and I want to help you do the same. On this podcast, we dive deep into health at every level, focusing on the mind, the body, and the spirit. This is where real conversations meet transformational wellness. We'll be talking about all the things that truly matter, from nutrition and fitness to lifestyle, mindset, and personal development. Plus, the real deal on managing stress and navigating menopause. So if you're ready to elevate your health journey with authentic, transformative insights, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to Up Level. I'm Dr. Jenna, and today we're going to talk about brain fog. And in the spirit of talking about brain fog, I did not get enough sleep last night. I was going to say I'm functioning on not great sleep, not enough sleep. So I thought, and I'm recording this earlier than I usually do. So I figured, hey, brain's not fully up. Let's talk about brain fog. Have you ever walked into a room and completely forgotten why? All right. Or stared blankly at your screen, your calendar, your to-do list, and just kind of been not able to think clearly? It's brain fog. A lot of people come into my practice with this concern. I can't think clearly. I can't remember names like I used to. I'm not at the top of my game anymore. I walk into a room and I don't know why I walked in there. So this happens to the best of us, and especially in midlife, it starts happening more often. So what I want to really dive into today is causes of brain fog, especially for women in midlife, and what you can do to clear it physically, emotionally, hormonally. So I'm feeling a little loopy. I gotta tell you, I'm feeling a little, a little loopy. And so let's keep this fun. And I want to say that, our attitude is so important. I was talking to one of my program members, and she was expressing her concerns around brain fog. Because like I said, a lot of the people that we work with have brain fog. And for many of them, what we do, it starts clearing up and they start thinking more clearly. And I love that. But this program member was talking about her frustration and she can't remember this and that. And the thing is when we get super frustrated, it doesn't help us think clearly. If I walk into a room and I don't remember, which has actually honestly happened to me since I was, I don't know, probably in my 30s. I think I just I'm always studying, I'm always learning, and the brain can only handle so much. And so to be able to laugh rather than get so frustrated. Yes, I know it's frustrating. We want to be at the top of our game. I want you to get your edge and your sass and your best self back. But let's also learn to laugh at the things we're experiencing, because it actually helps us move through them more quickly. So I think that's why I may be feeling a little goofy. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit early. I didn't sleep great. I stayed up late watching Akila and the Bee with my daughter. And then the animals like to just wake me up in the middle of the night and run all over the bed. I don't know how many of you have dogs or cats, but mine chase each other at about 3, 4 in the morning. And I just decided to just get up early and roll with it. So brain fog is not a medical diagnosis, but it is a common symptom. So this can be mental fatigue, forgetfulness, slower processing, difficulty concentrating. And it's just that inability to think clearly. We feel like we're running more slowly. And this is especially common in perimenopause and menopause, but it's also showing up earlier and more often. And there are lots of reasons. And it can be, we can think we're functioning actually well. Usually we're aware when this is going on, but some of us, like I told the story many episodes ago of in medical school, I was getting really functioning on a low amount of sleep. I was getting about 4 hours of sleep a night because I had to do my big meditation practice, and I was up studying late, and I was functioning. But when I actually started sleeping, I started getting a rash. And then I realized maybe my body wasn't holding up as well as I thought, because we can push, right? Ladies, we can push, but that doesn't mean it's healthy. And it doesn't mean it's not having detrimental effects on us. So I was pushing and I can do it on 4 hours of sleep. And then I started getting this rash under my eyes, and I thought, okay, this isn't working. And when I started sleeping more, I realized how much better my brain was functioning, and my memory was so much stronger, and my ability to be alert and awake. So There are lots of reasons, but so it can happen earlier from a variety of the reasons that we're going to talk, but it is very, very common in midlife with the hormonal shifts. Okay, so hormonal shifts is a big root cause of brain fog. Estrogen and progesterone affect neurotransmitters that are tied to memory, clarity, mood. This is why we get mood changes. This is why we're not thinking as clearly. This is why we can't remember as well. And fluctuations during perimenopause can leave you feeling like you've lost your edge. So if you're working, this can be very frustrating. It can also be scary. I recognize this can be scary. You might feel like, oh, I'm not going to get that promotion, or I'm not going to be able to get this presentation done in the way I want because I'm not thinking clearly. The other thing is, in this time of life, we start becoming more insulin resistant, and insulin resistance also contributes to brain fog. High blood sugar, we can equate that with low mental clarity. So there's that hormonal piece. And you'll notice through this episode, I'm going to do this sort of 30,000, I don't know if it's really 30,000, but I was going to say 30,000 foot view of the various things, right? Hormones, sleep, stress and mental clutter, nutrition, like all of the things that I talk about, you'll see a thread in, regardless of what we're talking about, all of these pillars, all of these aspects come up. And then I want to give you tangible steps on what you can do to clear it. So we have the hormonal shifts. Now, another thing that affects your hormones is not getting enough sleep. So there's hormonal shifts in midlife. There's hormonal shifts if you're a cycling female, and then there's poor sleep and circadian rhythm disruption. And so these are tied together. Sleep is an issue in and of itself, like I just explained with me when I was in naturopathic medical school, and it's also tied to hormones. So even mild sleep deprivation has been found to mimic cognitive aging. That's not good, right? None of us want to be aging cognitively. And then blue light at night, right? Being on your screen, scrolling, stress, night sweats from menopause, and inconsistent routines. How many of us are just all over the place? Listen to my sleep episodes, if that's you. These all interfere with memory and focus. So we really want to prioritize sleep. It's our reset button. It's how we really restore, recover, help our hormones, and help us also, you'll know from my other episodes, eat healthier, make better choices, have better appetite control, etc. And unhealthy food also contributes to brain fog. So everything is tied together. That's why I never treat people in a vacuum. That's why I never discuss these topics in a vacuum, because we are interconnected. We are not only interconnected in our body, our mind, our soul, etc., but with the world as well. And so let's not underestimate sleep. Let's also not underestimate stress, overwhelm, mental clutter. Now, let's tie this back. Stress affects sleep, 100%. Stress affects hormones, 100%. So again, nothing in a vacuum. Chronic stress actually shrinks your hippocampus, which is the part of the brain responsible for your memory. So if you're in constant fight or flight mode, you're going to be foggy. You're going to have reactive thinking. Ideally, we're responding through life, right? Not reacting. So mental clarity will improve when you shift out of survival mode. So I've done some episodes recently on the nervous system. I've done episodes on stress. So you can go back and go deeper into those topics. But when you start to shift out of that fight or flight mode and putting everybody else first and prioritizing everybody else and not really addressing the stress in your life, your mental clarity will improve. Blood sugar swings and inflammatory foods. All right, so chronic stress will lead to blood sugar issues. Chronic sleep deprivation, or even sometimes just isolated sleep deprivation, will lead to blood sugar swings. And inflammatory foods will affect us. And as I just said, when we don't sleep as well, we actually don't eat as well. So refined carbs, ultra-processed snacks, skipping meals, these can all create glucose chaos that leads to a brain crash. So high inflammatory foods, those processed foods, alcohol, they disrupt your focus, they disrupt your mood. And some of these things lead to nutrient deficiencies, which is another root cause of brain fog or not being able to think clearly. Now, common in midlife, low B12. This is also common in vegetarians and vegans. vitamin D deficiency, which I've said before, I can't, even in Arizona, the number of people who are on the low end or actually deficient in vitamin D is actually quite high. And then if you're living somewhere in the more northern latitudes, you are most definitely, is that like an oxymoron? You are almost definitely vitamin D deficient, and also common magnesium deficiency and iron deficiency. So nutrient deficiencies are not helping. And if you have a lack of antioxidant support from poor diet, from inflammatory foods, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin C, selenium, those nutrients, those antioxidants protect your brain cells. They also help your thyroid function. If your thyroid isn't functioning, you probably won't be thinking clearly. And then there's the gut piece. And when we're not absorbing our nutrients because our gut is inflamed, you might be getting all of these things, but you're not absorbing them. So you're not going to be able to get the maximum nutrition from your diet or your supplements. And then omega-3s, a lot of us are deficient in omega-3s. That's your EPA and your DHA. And these are essential for memory and cognitive resilience, which is why fish oils are so widely touted today. I have to do a little aside here. I've started working with a vocal coach. I don't know if you can all hear the hoarseness in my voice, but she's probably going to tell me, do not record your podcast in the morning when your voice is not warmed up. So everything's a muscle, by the way. My vocal cords are a muscle, and I strained them back in December, and now I'm finally working with someone. I again, work with the coaches to address the things going on in your life. And I've only had one session with her so far. Looking forward to meeting with her again. So shout out to Kira and Gina, who's my daughter's vocal coach, and recognize that we can work on and reverse so much of what is going on with us if we work with the right people with the right strategies and understand that muscles and habits need to be developed, right? I have never warmed up my voice. That's something I'm starting to do now that I'm getting educated about it. When we start using our muscles, when we start developing new habits, it takes time. So have patience and do your homework. And if she tells me don't ever record your podcast again at this time in the morning, I will listen to her. So, okay, environmental factors. Where was I? So we were talking about nutrient deficiencies, and I was just listening to my hoarseness, so I went off on a little tangent, but I think it's important, the point of my tangent. And then environmental factors. All right, scented candles, perfumes, cleaning products, plastics. These can all contribute to low-grade inflammation in the body, toxicity. They're what we call endocrine disruptors. They disrupt your hormones. And these exposures add to your body's detox burden and can worsen your brain fog. So consider switching to non-toxic, fragrant-free home and body products. And so all of these things, the air pollutants, the heavy metals we're exposed to, the plastics, the fragrances, there is evidence. And I'm thinking I maybe will do a whole separate podcast on detoxification, because there's so much misinformation on detox and these quick fixes and like do a juice cleanse and do this and that, which actually can further tax your system, further tax your hormone system in particular. And so detox, as it's touted, is not about a quick fix. All right. It's really about supporting your body's natural system through nutrition, through movement, and through reducing that toxic input. Because there is evidence that reducing the input of these endocrine disruptors, heavy metals, air pollutants can reduce inflammation and our long-term chronic disease risk. Okay. So the evidence really lies strongly in foods, nutrients, and lifestyle habits that help our detoxification pathways work more efficiently. And that can absolutely help with things like fatigue, hormone imbalance, brain fog. And that is also linked in with that gut-brain connection that I started to touch on, the inflammation, leaky gut, or intestinal hyperpermeability, as it's called medically, food sensitivities, chronic inflammation. These affect the brain. They release cytokines that affect the brain. And so poor gut health can equal poor neurotransmitter production. This affects your mental clarity. It also affects your mood, by the way. 85 to, I think, up to 95% of your serotonin comes from your gut. So we're maybe on antidepressants for the serotonin reuptake in the brain, but what about the gut? This will affect our mental clarity. And that's why we want to come at this from a holistic approach from all angles. And that includes movement. All right. Sedentary lifestyle reduces blood flow and oxygen to your brain. Even short walks can improve brain growth factor, or BDNF, and energy. And well, this is getting into solutions, but just how movement helps oxygenation of your body, oxygenation of your brain, movement of your brain. We'll hear in recommendations in older age to do crossword puzzles, keep your brain stimulated. That's good for memory. That's good for concentration. Back to that idea, like everything's a muscle, use it or lose it. We want to keep utilizing and working with all aspects. That's why we want to stay healthy, so our body stays mobile. We want to keep our brain healthy. Let's keep our brain working. So let's talk about what helps actually lift or clear the fog. We frequently hear talk of fueling our bodies. We want to fuel our brains too. We want to fuel our brains. How do we do that? Ample protein, healthy fats is going to help with neurotransmitter production. It's going to help us with our blood sugar. So eating regularly is going to balance the blood sugar. No skipping meals. So I've talked briefly about fasting in other episodes. I'm more a fan of time-restricted eating. All right, intermittent fasting, it's the evidence for women is not great. Again, we always have to find what works for us as individuals, but skipping meals will lead typically to erratic blood sugar, overeating later, more erratic blood sugar, insulin spikes, blood sugar spikes, and that is not going to help your brain fog. I also suggest with your meal and fueling your brain, add color. Maximize antioxidant-rich fruits and vegetables. These will protect your brain cells. So have a rainbow on your plate. So you're really optimizing your nutrients and your minerals through your diet. So with a focus on B complex vitamins, magnesium, zinc, omega-3s, you can take these as a supplement. You can get them through your diet. But again, if the gut is not absorbing, if you have digestive issues, if you have a history of constipation, leaky gut, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, etc., you might not be absorbing your nutrients. And also, honestly, our soils are not what they used to be. The nutrition in our food alone is not what it used to be. I wish it were, but it's not. So sometimes we do need supplementation, but let's make sure the body is working so you're actually absorbing it and not just flushing it down the toilet. And so vitamins, other vitamins A and E can support neurological function, and then hydration, minerals. Our brain is 75% water. So we want to nourish our body through hydration and antioxidants and vitamins and minerals. I talked about the nervous system a few episodes ago. We want to ground our nervous system. This makes a difference. When we're in stress mode, we can't think clearly. Who handles emergencies the best? People who are calm, right? If you're on a ship and it hits an iceberg and your captain is freaking out, are you going to trust that that's going to end well versus a captain who stays calm in a crisis? So breath work, meditation, even simply getting outside, especially in nature, gets you out of the chaos and into clarity. Anytime we feel that trigger in our nervous system, when we go into shock, we go into overwhelm. Take some deep breaths, come back into clarity, ground ourselves, nature time, journaling, whatever rituals resonate with you. They reduce the nervous system load and they sharpen your focus. It's so important. As your stress load decreases, you can think more clearly. The people who are calm in a crisis are the people that we gravitate towards because they're thinking clearly. I was listening to Harry Potter with my daughter the other day, and they were spoiler alert if you haven't gotten through the series and you are. But anyway, they got caught in the devil's snare. They went down in the trap door. This is in was it book 1? And Ron or someone said, "Harry, thank goodness you can stay calm in a crisis." Like Ron was panicking. Hermione was like, we don't have fire. And he's like, are you a witch or what? Like create it. And anyway, it was noted. Thank goodness you can stay calm, because when we're in stress, we can't think clearly. But if we stay calm, the answers can come to us, the clarity can come to us. Which brings us to a deeper piece of like who we are is, where are you with your joy? Where are you with your purpose in life? It is mentally fatiguing to not feel good about our lives. It is mentally fatiguing to have lost our joy, lost our purpose. That leads to overwhelm. The brain craves direction. It craves intention, goals, curiosity, vision. And when we lose this, or let's say you're chronically indecisive, I did an episode, not last time, but the time before, on decisions. That is exhausting when we're decisive and we're weighing all the pros and cons and overthinking everything. And so that can lead to brain fog, these things. So joy, peace, focus, a sense of grounded purpose, these are powerful antidotes to overwhelm, powerful antidotes. When is enough enough? When are you going to stop accepting less than what you deserve, less than what you want, and living in the status quo? Versus saying, I want to live my best life. I want to thrive. I am going to thrive. I'm going to find my joy. I'm going to work on peace. Ask yourself, what would feel meaningful today? Every day we can find something meaningful. What would feel meaningful today? So scaling back again, our fuel, this comes back to like the original pillars that I talked about in my first or second session. So there's the fuel, right? The fuel for your brain to think clearly, optimizing nutrients and minerals, the stress and sacred space, the grounding your nervous system, the breath work, prayer, meditation, and then finding your joy, finding your purpose, sleep. That's that third pillar. Dark room, consistent bedtime, cool temperatures. I got sucked into it last night. I didn't want to stay up as late as we did. And she's only 8. I didn't want her up as late, but it was hard to turn that movie off. It's like the National Spelling Bee. Anyway, so sometimes we just have to set those boundaries and cut it off. And other times, you just go with the flow, right? I did. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it today, but I am going to get right back on track. So having a consistent bedtime, a dark room, cool temperatures, which is also harder in my house in the summer here. It's already 100 degrees in Sedona, and we don't get a lot of good airflow on the second floor where my bedroom is. So it's important to find ways to make that work, right? We've got standing swamp cooler things in the room. Consider, if needed, magnesium glycinate, calming nighttime rituals. Again, you can go deeper into sleep from my other episodes. And that includes, in those episodes, like get off the screens before bed. Let your brain decompress. Let's not scroll and get the blue light and all of that right before bed. And ideally, we stop the screens about an hour before bedtime. But again, I like to work with people where you're at. If you just start saying, okay, I'm going to cut them off 20 minutes before bed and then 30 minutes before bed, and then just work your way and find that balance where you're getting that good night's sleep, but you're also succeeding in being consistent in the changes that you're trying to make. And then the movement pillar. So if we look at these pieces, you can see the consistent theme. Move your body, move your mind. So gentle movement, walks, it doesn't have to be intense, will improve mental clarity. Okay. Walking after meals, stretching, dancing, strength training, they all help oxygenate the brain and then also stimulate your brain. Read, do crossword puzzles, keep your brain sharp in those ways. And then just to revisit the idea of gentle detox support. All right. Detox for brain fog is not strongly evidence-based. Now, many of the women we work with report clarity after reducing their toxic load, but this also includes increased water consumption, cruciferous vegetables, and yes, even Hashimoto's. It's You don't have to avoid, if you have Hashimoto's, the cruciferous vegetables, you have to avoid them in excess raw. And it would take like 1 to 2 pounds raw to cause a problem, and cooked, it's kind of eliminated. Sauna, sweating, movement, dry brushing, these are all going to be part of that gentle detox support to help all of our pathways work more efficiently, and then reduce your exposure, reduce your input of scented products. I can't stand those old Christmas tree air fresheners that hang in people's cars, or the plug-ins. I get such a headache when I go into places that think that they're making the air smell so good, and all they have is like toxic chemicals just wafting through the air. So plastics, heavy alcohol use, processed junk. Again, detox is not about some quick fix, 3 days to a new you. It is about supporting your body's natural systems through nutrition, through movement, through decreasing your load, and helping all of your pathways work more efficiently to help get rid of any sort of clogged areas in the body. A lot of people have fatty liver, for example. So we want to support the liver consistently, though, not in some quick fix, starve yourself for 3 days. That doesn't usually lead to what you're looking for, and sometimes leads to the opposite. I've seen a lot of people get worse after trying some of those things. And then I would be remiss if I didn't very briefly, talk about GLP-1 medications, Ozempic, Wegovy, etc. These are the hot topic right now, right? These injections, they can stabilize blood sugar, which will be helpful for some. They may also contribute to nutrient deficiencies or mental fatigue. We see this as well. And gut disruption, we see this as well. So that is especially true if they're not supported properly. It's like people that have gastric bypass and then they're not getting, that's more extreme. It's not the same thing, but then they're not getting the nutrients. So if you're using them, it's critical to prioritize those nutrient-dense foods and your mineral balance. Okay, so I hope this was helpful because I know so many of you are struggling with brain fog, and you are not alone. You are not alone. And just like every other symptom, every other condition that we talk about on this podcast, or that you may have, or that you hear about, it is not a life sentence. I don't care what anybody says. There is not a condition that is a life sentence. I know some conditions come with prognoses that are worse than others, but talking about brain fog, it is a symptom that is a signal. It is a communication from your body that something's off. It is a communication with your body that your body needs support. So there are so many tools to help you listen and support you and clear the clutter. Hey, and as an aside, if you have a lot of clutter in your house, that will contribute to brain fog because we feel it energetically. If you feel that closet that you haven't addressed, like it's in your mind, it's in your body. When I say you feel it, like I know when I've got drawers that are messy, I energetically feel it. That clutter needs to be cleared. You will feel lighter. You will feel clearer. I've told the story of when we Marie Kondoed our house. Like I had so much energy, so much more clarity after that process. But the converse is true. It kind of weighs on us when the clutter in our environment accumulates. So I didn't have that. I didn't talk about that today, but let me add, clear some of your environmental clutter as well. And just remember, especially if you're in midlife, you're just going through a phase of deep recalibration. If we put a nice positive spin, we're just recalibrating for something so much better. Like I said, this can be amazing, this second phase of our lives. So it's workable. It's temporary. In fact, research has even shown that the brain fog that comes with menopause doesn't last. And you are not alone. Always remember you're not alone. Get your support group, get your tools, surround yourself with the people that are going to lift you up and encourage you to live your best life rather than trying to drag you down to whatever status quo level they've accepted. And I want to close with, I think what I always bring it back to is tune into your body. Don't dismiss these symptoms. Don't write them off. Don't accept them. Oh, I'm just going to feel like crap and have no joy and not be able to think clearly, not be able to digest, feel bloated all the time, whatever it is. Listen. Don't dismiss, and just get curious. Get curious. I know it can be scary. I know it can be frustrating, but get curious rather than critical. And let's laugh about it, and then let's reverse it. Let's allow ourselves to be lighter, and then let's work on getting and feeling better. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Up Level, Real Health, Real Talk. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your health journey, one that nourishes not just your body, but your mind and spirit as well. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's episode, please leave a review. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep thriving. And remember, true wellness is a journey, and you are on the right path.